scattered throughout Alabama and our world as well. There are places that hold strange, unknown powers and secrets. Some of us have been fortunate enough, or perhaps unfortunate enough, to encounter these places. They are mystical, magical, perhaps enchanted, and sometimes cursed. They are known as vortexes, portals, doorways, passageways to other worlds, other dimensions. Sometimes the times of the past are the times of the future. For the most part, they lay hidden, lurking deep in the shadows. So ask yourself before you make this journey tonight, can I handle the truth? But once you find the truth, your life is forever changed. You are now about to cross into the shadow regions of reality and the supernatural.
Well, hello and welcome to this edition of Alabama Adventures. Tonight, as I have been telling you in the past, we have got a lot to do up in DeKalb County, a lot to tell you about from up there. And that's where we're going to be at tonight in DeKalb County once again. I did change shirts. I got me another shirt, brought it home, so I thought you were probably getting tired of the old blue checkered shirt, although it is a comfortable shirt. It's 100% cotton, and it wears good. And after I got this one home, it's a cotton poly blend, and just like wearing a plastic shirt here in the summertime. So anyway, I'm going to find something else to wear pretty soon, because I just don't like a hot plastic shirt in the summertime. But anyway, a lot to tell you about on this video tonight. As you'll see, we were having a good time when we got into DeKalb County, and I was carrying on a little bit, enjoying being up there. Was my first trip doing a paranormal seminar up there that we did back in March and everything. And we had this UFO encounter, and that's what I'm going to tell you about tonight. I'm going to tell you about some other stuff too. But the main topic on this Alabama adventure is going to be our UFO encounter that we had up there that night. But now, as I always like to open up about the Appalachian Mountains, I've got a lot I want to say about the Appalachian Mountains tonight. And let me see if I can get it all worked in. So now, from the tail end of the Appalachian Mountains, high atop Lookout Mountain in DeKalb County, in the heart of the South, this is Alabama Adventures. Okay, so as we rolled into town that afternoon in DeKalb County, we went on to Rainsville, Alabama. That's where the seminar was going to be held in the Tom Bevel Center over there in downtown Rainsville. So that's where we headed, and as we came into Rainsville, I was geared up for the seminar the next day. And as I may have mentioned in a video or two before, I'm sure I have, that I was a big wrestling fan, used to be back whenever wrestling was a little bit different than what it is now. And that's what I did that afternoon. I did one of my wrestling impersonations up there when we got to Rainsville. So anyway, I'll let you see that. Finally, Sasquatch Jim has come to Rainsville and DeKalb County, the most paranormal county in Alabama. Well, there was a little bit more to that opening right there, but I had Dorothy to sort of edit that and cut it a little bit short. Anyway, as we came into town, we saw a giant, and I'll get to that in just a second. I'll show you that little segment now. As we rolled into Rainsville, we came by a place called Barter Post. I have all kinds of stuff in there. I wish I had done some more filming inside. They were about to close. It was around 5 o'clock when we got there, and they were about to close, so I didn't want to hold them up, because I know how it is whenever you're working all day. At 5 o'clock, you're ready to go home. And that's what they were beginning to do, was to get the stuff in out of the yard and put it back in the showroom and everything. So I didn't get to go inside to do any filming in there, but there's some very nice people up there. The young lady that I talked to a minute asked her could I film the old Buggy that you're about to see. She was very nice. And if you're up in Rainsville and have time, you need to run by Barter Post and look at all of the stuff they've got in there. Just a large variety of stuff. But I did get to video an old buggy and a little bit of stuff sitting outside, so I want you to look at that real quick. Well, we're up here in Rainsville today, and we're here for a paranormal convention over the weekend, and as we came into town, we ran across this guy sitting on the roof here, so I wanted to video him real quick. And this is a Barter Post in downtown Rainsville, Alabama. And just look at some of the stuff as we walk by. I'm going down here to look at this buggy. I want to show you that real quick. And anyway, if you're up this way, you might want to come by and see what all they have. There's an old chair. Let's look at it. This buggy looks like it's in pretty good condition. I hadn't seen one like this in a long time, but you know how we are whenever we're out on the road and see something a little different. I do like to video it for you so you can have a chance to look at it. This one's got a good looking top on it, and the seat looks like it's in pretty good shape. Let's walk on around here and see what else it looks like. Kind of got a fence right there, so we'll go back around this way. And one other little thing I want to look at up here. Well, let's check out our man sitting on the roof one more time. I want to look at this old canoe right up here. It reminded me of a teepee when I first saw it, but I can tell that it's a canoe with a flag in front of it. All right, and hope you enjoyed looking at some of that stuff, especially that old buggy. I would sure like to have that old buggy, but whenever I saw it, it reminded me of the buggy. If you watch Gunsmoke or you watch some of the reruns, it was very similar to the buggy that Doc rode around in that particular TV show. Anyway, it also reminded me of many years ago, whenever my father was alive. He and I actually bought an old buggy similar to that, and we put it back together, restored the buggy, just like a lot of people restore cars now. And he and I had a real good time doing that. I need to do some videos on him. There's some interesting things that he did and that he came across. I'll tell you this real quick, and if I can find a picture, I'll put a picture of him up real quick while I'm telling about him and bragging on him. Here he is. He worked with a company back in the late 1960s that built Talladega racetrack up there in Talladega. He was actually one of the guys that you may have seen on some documentaries about that. He was one of them that hung off on a tractor held up by cables whenever they were building the track up there. And he carried me up there one time and showed me the place where he worked and everything, what was going on. There was a lot of paranormal activity going on up there then. He related a little bit of it, and I do want to do a video about that pretty soon. But anyway, I really didn't know how dangerous that particular work was that he was doing up there. It was very dangerous, hanging off on a I don't know how many tons one of those tractors or bulldozers weigh, but anyway, hanging off cables there on the racetrack trying to get it built up there. But they did get it built. But anyway, as I said, I want to do a video on him pretty soon of his paranormal encounters at Talladega. But anyway, let's get on back to the video tonight about our little UFO encounter. What had happened, you may have seen the video, the Twilley cabin. The Twilleys up there in Lickskillet, Alabama, were very nice to us and have become just like family to me up there now. They invited us up to their cabin, and we spent the weekend up there while we were doing this seminar and everything. You might want to go back and look at that video of their cabin. Anyway, we were up there in the cabin that night, and some of the people that were going to be participating in the seminar were there. And we were just exchanging stories and getting to meet each other and that type of stuff, and sort of getting over being nervous about being in a new place like that, I guess, and getting used to the people that we were going to be up there with the next day. We decided that we wanted to run back down to Dogtown to pick up some stuff for breakfast and that type of stuff that we had come off without. So anyway, they told us how to get down there. It wasn't any trouble to find the way to back down to Dogtown. But we did wind up getting lost at one point, and it was when we got lost that we finally got back on the right road was when we had our UFO encounter, and that's what I want to tell you about now. So anyway, we were at the cabin, and as I said, we decided we wanted to run back up to Dogtown to the store to pick up some stuff, and we asked them 2 or 3 times, was it any trouble to find the way up there, and of course it wasn't. It was what we had to do to get there was to make 2 left turns, and it would put us right in downtown Dogtown. So Dorothy and I headed out on our way up there to the store that night. I guess it was about 9, somewhere between 9 and 10 o'clock. We made the first left turn all right, and then we came to an intersection, and I'm going to blame it all on Dorothy, but rather than making a left turn at the 4-way intersection as we were supposed to, we just went across straight without making a turn, because she kind of thought that it was another place that we were supposed to turn. But anyway, we wound up getting lost that particular night, and we drove, I guess, maybe 8 or 10 miles down the road, and we didn't come up on Dogtown, which should have been about 4 to 5 miles, so we turned around and came back. And we both noticed as we were coming up this road that we were lost on, I forgot who commented on it first, things just didn't look exactly right like they did coming down the road, like lights and houses and that type of stuff. But we kept on coming, and we came up on the intersection. All right, this was the intersection that we were supposed to turn left on originally, and there was a large barn right there in the corner of the intersection. Behind it was a pretty large house, and then over to the left side of the barn that was set in the intersection was another barn. So we turned in the direction that we were supposed to, headed back to Dogtown. And as you pass these 2 barns, there is a large field. This would be on the right side of the road. But as we turned at this barn, as I said, that was setting in one of the corners of the intersection, what I thought was another barn that was very well lit was extended out over the road, and I thought that was kind of odd. But then I thought, well, maybe it is just a little country road, so maybe the people that have built this barn has it for like 18-wheeler trucks and that type of stuff, whenever they maybe hauling hay or cows or whatever they haul up there. If it was raining, the 18-wheelers could pull up under this thing, because it was at least, I'm going to say, 30 to 40 feet, I thought, off the ground. And what Dorothy thought it was, and after she mentioned it, I thought it was the same thing. We thought it was like a hay barn. If you have seen hay barns that they build like on posts, they just put a roof on it. Of course, they put fluorescent lights across the roof, so it will be illuminated to where you can see what you're doing at night, like you're getting hay or whatever. That's what we both thought this thing was. I'm going to do a little drawing of it and get Dorothy to put that on, but this is what we saw. And actually, under one end of this thing, we drove under it. Okay, we didn't think too much about it, but I did comment to her as we were going on. Now, when we come back to the cabin, whenever we pass this barn right here, we'll know this is the place that we have to turn. We'll know that this is the intersection. Okay, so now we go on down to Dogtown, and you may have seen some of the Dogtown video that I did in an earlier video. But we went to the little store there, and we picked up a few things that we needed. I forgot what all we got, but that's not important. We did go there. We did pick up some stuff. We didn't waste a lot of time. We just got what we wanted, paid for it, got back in the car, and headed back to the cabin. Okay, so now we're coming back down the road, headed back to the cabin, and we're looking for this illuminated barn. And we come along, and we're driving along, and we get lost again. We can't find this barn. It's not along the road. As a matter of fact, we wind up in Little River Canyon. a long ways from where we're supposed to be. So we turn back around and we come back down this same road again. We got lost twice that night. All right. As we coming along this road where this what we thought was a barn was supposed to be well lit and illuminated, we do find our turn. Okay, we make the turn and we go back to the cabin. All right, now whatever this thing was completely gone. As I said, this was around 9 or 10 o'clock that night, and surely if they had lights on it at that time of night, I figured they left the lights on it all night long. So anyway, we get on back to the cabin, and some of the people have already left. The lady KJ that I've mentioned in an earlier video, who was the lady that had us up there and everything, whose family actually owns the cabin. When we walked in the door, she kind of made some little comment or something about, well, had everything been okay? Had we had any trouble finding Dogtown? And that's what I told her. I said, well, we got lost going the way down there, but we just turned right around and didn't have any trouble finding it next time. But come to find out, we had been gone about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And this little trip shouldn't have taken over 20 minutes at the very most, but or 30 at the very most. But anyway, we had been gone about an hour, a little over, maybe an hour and a half, or a little over an hour and a half. So I began to tell them what we had seen. She and the other people that were there were kind of surprised at what we had seen and where we had seen it at. Anyway, let me sort of backtrack a little bit on that. Where we saw the UFO, and that's what we believe this thing was now, was a UFO, and I'll explain that a little bit as we go along. I do believe it was a UFO. The thing was about 100 feet long. I'm going to say around 100 feet long. It was at least 20 feet wide, and it was probably 30, good 30 feet up in the air, if not a little bit more. So that's why we actually thought it was one of those very tall hay barns. But anyway, come to find out, some other people had seen this same thing in this same field. Not very recently, but it had been seen in this same field. Okay, in this field where I was telling you about the barn there in the corner of the intersection and this very nice house behind it, nobody lived in that house right now. But about 2 or 3 years ago, this same UFO that we saw had been spotted in that field several nights in a row, and the man that lived in the house had gone out and seen it a time or two, and on about the 3rd or 4th night that it was there, when he sees that his field is illuminated and lit up just white, with a very white light out there, he goes back in the house and gets a shotgun and shoots at this UFO several times. Whether he hit it or not, nobody knows. All right, that he goes back in the house. I don't know if the UFO leaves or whatever. All I know is what we were told that night about this particular UFO encounter was he did shoot at the UFO several times that night. Okay, about a month later, this man is found in his house dead. I won't go into a lot of detail on that, but all the people that were telling me about this encounter this man had shooting at this UFO, and then about a month later he was discovered dead in his house, and the cause of death has not been determined yet, or so they said up there in DeKalb County. It was highly investigated, but as far as they knew, no one knew the exact cause of death. So we did see this UFO in the field that night next to the house where a man had shot at it and then mysteriously died a few weeks later. Okay, the next day at the seminar, KJ introduces me to some of the UFO investigators in DeKalb County, and I tell them this story that I have just told you. This same UFO has not been spotted lately in this same area. It has been spotted on the other side of Lookout Mountain. Okay, and then to add to this story also, after we had our sighting of this long rectangular shaped UFO, it has been spotted again since we were up there in March, and it has been spotted extremely close to where we saw it again. And another UFO that was spotted just right down the road seemed to be going in and out of wormholes or portals or something, because the lady that reported it said it was over her pasture, and it looked as if it would pass into a hole and then at another location in the sky, it would appear to come out of a hole or a portal or black hole or whatever you want to call it several times. So anyway, that was our UFO sighting that we had up there that night. But let me also add this to the story. Whenever we had gotten to the cabin earlier that afternoon, I had made several pictures and had done some recording on the camera that I'm using now. So I took my laptop out of the car and carried it into the house so I could download the videos and the cameras in case I wanted to make some more that night or whatever. I had, and that's what I had done. I had left my laptop, cameras, and my cell phone at the cabin that night as we went to Dogtown to the store up there. Dorothy had not unloaded her laptop. She also had her cell phone with her in case we did get lost and we needed some help or something like that. We did have the phone. I just went off without my phone. I just forgot to put it back in my pocket. But when we got back to the cabin that night, and she did get her laptop out, she was going to do some work on for the seminar that we were doing the next day on the computer. Her laptop was completely erased. All the numbers in her phone were all deleted. And as a matter of fact, she could not get her laptop going again. She has had to purchase another laptop since we came back from up there. So anyway, was that something that the UFO caused? Was there some kind of electrical or magnetic something that we passed under that UFO and it erased her laptop and pretty much crashed it? It did delete every telephone number in her cell phone or iPhone, whatever you call it. I'm not that familiar with phone. The phone that she had with us, all the numbers were deleted in there. But anyway, that was our little UFO encounter on Lookout Mountain back in March of 2017. Okay, and as we're bringing this video on to a close tonight, I've got some pictures I want you to look at that was made up there on Lookout Mountain. This first picture right here is a picture of an old barn. This is on the road between Dogtown and Lickskillet, Alabama. If you will notice, this old barn on the roof is advertised Sea Rock City. And you used to see these barns everywhere. I can remember riding down the road here in the south, and it was just continuous. Seemed like one after another you saw these barns with this advertisement on the top. Some of them would also say "See Ruby Falls," if you remember that. But I watched a documentary on the man that actually painted these barns years and years ago, and he painted these all freehand. So this man was a real sign painter and a real artist. I tip my hat to whoever he was. I forget his name, but he was a very talented person to get on top of these barns. They say, if I am not mistaken, the documentary said that he painted them pretty much year round whenever the weather was fair and it was not raining, or where he could get up there and paint it. But that was some extremely hard work on top of these barns, painting these words and letters on there as well as he did. Very, very talented man. I cannot remember his name in that documentary. You might want to look it up sometime if you're interested in that. But I had somebody that asked me one time, well, why don't you ever see these barns anymore? Well, we had a president one time that had a wife who runs a very tight race for being one of the worst presidents and first ladies that I believe we ever had. Yeah, probably if it had not been for him, we would have probably never went to Vietnam. So I don't have a whole lot of use for him, his family, or anything that associates with him. While he was the president and the first lady, Lady Bird Johnson, if you remember her, and if you're not old enough to, then you're very lucky that you weren't alive when they were in office. But anyway, Lady Bird passed a law back then that to beautify the highways here in the South, well, across the country actually. But she passed legislation, or had it passed, however you do it when you're the first lady and want to get something done. She had laws passed that this was advertising from the road, and that it could not be, it was unlawful to do that, and that all these barns either had to be torn down or the roofs painted over. But that was a part of Americana, that was a part of history that should have been left alone. I wish somebody had painted over her or done away with her from the side of the road. But anyway, That's just the way it goes sometimes. No matter what you have in this country that is a part of the country that is Americana, that is history, somebody's going to come along and do away with it. And that's what happened to all these barns, or so I have been told. I also would like to go back and show you this picture of this barn at the intersection with the house behind it, where the man passed away that actually shot at this UFO. If you will notice, it is a very nice house back there. I believe the house is up for sale, is what I believe I was told up there while we were there. Be a very nice place. I would certainly like to have it and live in that particular area. Not that I want to be around the UFO that's in the fields out there, but it is a very nice place up there. Also, while we were there, we run up on a few more old chimneys. I have a couple of pictures of those I'll let you look at right quick. Here's one. And I don't know what it is about chimneys. Chimneys just remind me of families and houses and people, their way of life and that type of stuff. And here's the other picture. And it just brings back, I don't know, Americana, I guess, feeling whenever I see old chimneys lonely like this standing out in the woods. You wonder what kind of family and everything that this people live for this particular chimney was, that it kept a house warm winter after winter for no telling how long. And you wonder about what all kind of things that these people went through and hardships and that type of stuff. But anyway, one other picture I want you to look at. This was not a picture right here on Lookout Mountain. This particular picture right here was made on Highway 11 as we came down off of Lookout Mountain. This is actual spot where the Trail of Tears actually came through. Of course, Highway 11 was not there at the time that the Trail of Tears was taking place, but this is supposed to be a marker along the Trail of Tears that led out of the Appalachian Mountains or the Smoky Mountains or whatever you want to call them. Before that, they were actually called the Cherokee Mountains because so many Cherokees lived within the Appalachian Mountains. That's just a little something I thought I might pass along that you might be interested in. But anyway, I guess I better bring this video on to a close. And I hope you enjoyed tonight's Alabama adventure of the UFO on Lookout Mountain. But anyway, as I always do, I'd like to say hello to my granddaughter Madison. I'd also like to tell you that the Alabama Bigfoot Society and Alabama Adventures is run completely out of pocket. And if you're in a position to where you can and where you would like to make a donation, that would be very much appreciated. All you have to do is to go to our website, and there you will find a place where you can make that donation on the front page. Our website is alabamabigfootsociety.com. That's all one word. Anyway, if you like these videos, I hope you give us a like. And if you like what we're doing down here with our Alabama adventures, our shadow regions, our Bigfoot investigation, and other paranormal investigations, I want you to give us a like. And by all means, subscribe to the channel. Share this video with anyone you can think of. Everybody and their brother would be real good if you could do that for us. And I guess with all that being said, that I'll see you next time on the next Alabama adventure, and Chico and I will see you on down the road.